Make sure my
All right.
let me
I
make
guess we're
sure my
going.
audio is set to the right.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, mic is okay. Yeah, mic is to my Logitech. My video is to my Logitech, so it's all good. Just making sure. So
yep.
it's decent enough quality. Okay, so go ahead and fire off.
I just wanted to really start this out by kind of just asking you how life is in Ukraine. You can start out by really talking and telling everybody how life is in Ukraine first. How is it like from your perspective, right?
Uh, in a comparative way to compare it to the U.S., which we've talked about before, a lot of the time, let's say 7 out of 10 times situation, it's like, I would say it's like living in the 1950s, 1940s cliche. That's the way I would always think of it because, I mean, you can't really hear it, I don't think, but there's kids playing outside yet again, and it's 3 p.m. for me in that. But what happens is just everything is relaxed. Another thing too, and I'm not, it's not me attacking American culture, but you realize that there's some uh how do I want to put, not devaluations, like a degeneration in the culture, just the culture going down. Um from my thinking. So like, if I go to what is a Kroger or a Meyer, that is their version of Kroger's or Myers or a Walmart, and that, like half of the time there is kids that are between 5 and like 13 years old, and there's zero parents around for them. Like the kids are going to the store on their own. They're doing it on their own. They're doing whatever on their own. They're running around on their own. That's the first part. So no one's thinking of the child predator. Let me cut off. Let me cut off my upload 1 second, because I wonder if that's it. Okay. So signal should be good. So where was I at? The child predator thing, right?
Yes.
Okay. So from my view, in that it's as if everyone walks around with not thinking that there's a child predator or someone that's going to kidnap a kid. And I even had a conversation with a Ukrainian friend that worked as a truck driver in the US like 10 or so years ago. And he's a little older than me. I actually told him another comparative thing is there's a lot of girls that are, let's say, between 6 to like 14, and they're dressing like they're 16 to 20 in that. And you can see it right away and you get a little confused by it. And I was telling him, I was like, telling him like, like my grandma told me that kids should not be sexualized too early, and that they should have a childhood and everything else. And his response was different. He said, well, there's no well, best way to put it is idiots, but like no perverts, in his the way he said it, in Ukraine that think like that in that way. So it's just normal. So from Ukrainians, or even say Russians' minds, they're thinking that girl is female, girl should look pretty, girl should look attractive. The end right there. And it's just a very simpler way of thinking from that end of it. Um, what else? You want to?
Oh
Have
no,
you?
I was gonna keep going. I know you talk a lot about the blackouts, and I
Yeah.
had read an article somewhere. It was from the War 24 News. It's a Greek international news source, and they were talking about the blackouts. And in that article, Zelensky was blaming Russia for the blackouts that y'all are experiencing. Right? It was the way Zelensky in the article was blaming Russia because it was what was happening in the war in eastern Ukraine. But I know you and I spoke a lot, and I know that you have your
Yeah.
own kind of perspective, right? So kind of share that.
Okay, so my perspective on that. Um, First, to understand, some of it can be true. Some, a little bit of everything is always true. But the first part is this: is there is a controlled blackout thing. Let me see. I gotta think here 1 second. I can probably share my screen. Oh gosh, it's been a long time since I did Zoom. Help me out here.
Yeah, there
Uh,
should be a spot where you can where it says share. I know at the bottom of
start share.
yes, share. Like if I was to hit share, watch, like share, and I hit screen, and then I can flip. Hold on.
Okay. Let me try. Okay,
Yeah,
sharing
yeah.
is not turned. Wait. Okay, it says sharing is not turned on for this meeting.
Oh, it's
Um,
not?
that's what it says for me.
Huh. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, the host isn't allowing multiple sharing. Okay, there we go. It says something the host isn't allowing because I can show you the schedule, or at least the schedule for Lviv. I think I have a different schedule too, but let's see. We'll figure it out in a second.
You should be able to share now.
Okay, sure. Okay, so let me, the host is 1 second. Okay, maybe now that's out. Okay, now it is. Okay, so let me see
There
my
we go.
screen. Okay, so let me do desktop. Okay, so this is gonna look cluttered, but okay, so here is the owner of my apartment, and the conversation's all in Ukrainian. That's okay. And watch, it'll be funny irony. Right when I show the schedule, I'll lose power. But anyway, so to understand, you can see my screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the green is power on. The orange is like power off or maybe cut off. And then the white is usually, or I might have it reversed. I know green is on, maybe the orange is off completely. And then like white is maybe off. Okay. And this is the schedule for Lviv area in that. But every different region has a different time area for when the power will be on off. And that, or instead of 3 or 5 hours, it will be this, that, or whatever. So going to my opinion of everything, let me see here. Besides, let me think, there might be even another scheduled thing. No, there's not. But what happens is this is my view, is at the end of the day, the schedule in that is a controlled blackout schedule. When it's a controlled blackout schedule, whether say it's Russia or not Russia or whatever, and that is either A, it's to make Ukraine look like it's falling apart. That's one possibility. Then the other possibility is that, let's say, for the military, they need extra power for whatever reason. So, they siphon the power off from one direction so it can be more juiced up on the other. That's my opinion. Now, like when in 2023, it was 4 hours on, 4 hours off, 4 hours on, 4 hours off. That was in 2023.
Wait,
And
hold on. So wait. So this has been going on since 2023.
uh not not consecutively, not consecutively. There was a period when it was what, somewhere around Christmas time. Well, no, wait, take that back. It stopped at Christmas time, in, let's say, like November, December of 2023, they had a thing where there was no power for 2023. And that they would say it's 4 hours on, 4 hours off. But now, according to the world news and everything else, what would happen is they would say, like, oh, there's no electricity in Ukraine, there's nothing going on, everything else. Uh, we have no water, we have no this, we have no that. Um, I won't throw, there's a certain YouTuber that I know, a friend of a friend, Ukrainian. I won't throw her under the bus, but she was complaining of this too, that she was making it more exaggerated. What she was saying is that there is no water and there's no electricity in the whole of Ukraine. And she has about 3 million people under a subscriber audience, and I know her.
Hmm.
But she's currently in California and she's saying how it is in Ukraine. And I know why she's saying that. But the thing about it is it's a thing that, like, everyone's making the situation sound worser than what it really is.
Right.
That's one part of my view. Another part of the view, okay, so let me see, since I'm sharing, let me try to translate. Uh, Let me translate. I should have a translate option. Ah, 1 second. Yeah, maybe I might just have to translate a certain part. So usually before the sirens start, in that, like, basically like a tornado siren, like a hurricane siren, in that, no, I don't want to share. Okay, so usually Ukraine, through Telegram, will have an alert thing. Now there's apps that do this too. But what happens is if you pay for Telegram Premium, you get a translation feature. But on top of this is every time there's a siren, usually an alert message will go out, like, say, 2 to 5 minutes before. So usually I know when the siren will start within 2 or 5 minutes, or maybe it starts 10 seconds before, one of the two, and that. So there's a list of Telegram bots and channels that provide when there's a siren, when there might be something going on in the country for news sake wise, in that. And something that's really not used in the US either on an individual scale, in that. Um, Other than that, other than the doom and gloom of this, that, whatever, and that living in Ukraine is fine. And that
Well,
other than you should be in by about, say, midnight.
no, I mean, what you were talking about as far as doom and gloom, I mean, there's a lot of YouTubers here in America that do the same thing. I see a lot of them too, where they paint this doom and gloom, right? This
Yeah.
doom and gloom in Ukraine. Yeah, they haven't been there no more than I've been there. Yet you watch their YouTube videos and it's this doom and gloom. It's the sky is falling.
Well, it's like this, okay, since I'm still sharing my screen. So what they probably do in that. So, like, you have this video right here where there was a hit. Where Let me translate this out. They will get a video like this from Telegram or from Reddit or from 4chan or whatever, and that yeah. Okay, so Ukraine hit something in Russia. That's what this one
Right.
is. But the thing though is that's what they're finding it from Telegram channels, or they're finding it from whatever source it is
Yeah.
and such.
You know,
That's
I
another
have
part.
noticed. I have noticed how Ukraine, they have been very successful hitting Russia in certain areas of Russia. That is, I know to be true. They've had a lot of success with drones, and so
Yeah.
it makes me want to know more about, I guess, the Ukrainian military, because I still find it fascinating that they're still fighting. Right, because some of the stuff I hear, and that's why talking to you helps me understand, because I hear, you hear this, you hear that, but then you see some of this, right? It's for me, I think I'm in this more for understanding truth. I like facts. When I started my YouTube, my YouTube started out with Bible readings mainly, and then I just had got this passion for what's going on in the world, and that's when I started covering
Yeah.
and wanting to learn more. And I wish there was more YouTube channels that just, I guess would do that more instead of just to paint the doom and gloom. When I know it's not doom and gloom, I know that the world isn't doom and gloom, right? I know that not everything in Ukraine is doom and gloom, but
Yeah, no, it's like that.
yeah,
If you want, not for this call, but I can connect you with a friend of mine or a few friends that are in the military side. They can talk about it. One of them being a lawyer, and he can give a bit more of a more unique perspective, because on one side he can look at the legal aspect,
mm,
and then on the other he's serving in the military, and then the other part is he runs an NGO inside of Ukraine as well. So he's running like aid supply stuff that goes east. And by aid supply, I mean basically water, food, clothing, etc. and that. And maybe just some drone stuff and that. But it's just one of them things in that general area and that. And just like that. But if you ever wanted to chat with him or have him on, I can ask him. And
yeah. I
he
mean, we
would
can probably do that again. I mean, that would be awesome. I mean, that's something we can
well,
do now,
he
most
he would
certainly.
he would probably do it because he's done a few things with me. There was a few video things where me and him were on video together. This was like 5 months after the war. Like we talked on video with a few other people, and that the video disappeared. I wish I would have recorded it, but basically like he was on video and he explained his perspective a little bit in 5 minutes or less, and just one of them things in general, and that. But like, how do I want to put it? It's just like that, and like the biggest thing that is the uh, I don't want to say it's disinformation, but it's a misunderstanding. So there's always some videos randomly like that. There's like a Gestapo or like a heavy hand of Ukrainian military that's going around. You know, like I always have the conversation with Yuri, that's the lawyer friend of mine. I have a conversation with him. I always ask him for his opinion. And then I will always kind of defer. I ask whoever the other Ukrainian person is around me, military or not. And that, say, if I wanted to record something that I might think should not be recorded, I always ask. And 90% of the time, they don't care in that 90% of the time. Now, there is a general rule in Ukraine that, let's say if there's a certain Ukrainian base somewhere, you should not go walking over there recording and like, walking around and make it obvious that you're recording. You should not do that. But that's also a little bit common sense too, in that, because, they don't know what you're doing with the video. And then even in America, like if you're walking around the US military base, you would get questioned at some level, I'm sure, in that. But it's one of these things that there is a rule that certain military things should not be recorded. But like walking around in the center of the city, walking around recording people walking around, whatever, you can do all of that. And even if there's like some random soldiers walking around or random police, you can record them in that, because like, they might look at you a little strange for a second, but they're not going to walk over and say like, give us your camera, blah blah blah. They're not going to do that. I had an experience. I was jaywalking. This was before I think it was before the war. It was either before the war or during Corona. In that I actually jaywalked from one side of the street to another because I got used to being in Ukraine. And a few cops saw me jaywalk and they looked at me and they said, like, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm American, blah, blah, blah. I've been in Ukraine too long. I forgot, because I didn't think of it, because every Ukrainian is doing it. But I was the only person that did it right at that intersection. And there was like four cops on one side of the corner in that. And they knew that in the US it was illegal, but they didn't ask for ID, they didn't ask for anything. As soon as I spoke English, they're like, blah blah, never mind. In that. And the same thing. I took a train late at night past curfew. Curfew starts at midnight. I took a train past curfew from Ivano-Frankivsk to Lviv, which is 2 hours. So it was 1 to 2 in the morning. And what happens from 1 to 2 in the morning? I go from the train station where there's, let's say, 50 to 100 people walking around the train station. This is past curfew. There's plenty of taxis that are picking people up. And I get in a taxi. The taxi takes me to the hotel. So along the ride, right 1 or 2 streets before where my hotel was, there was a police stop, and they stopped the taxi and they asked the guy to show his documents. Then I showed my passport and they're like, oh, an American guy. Well, you're still in Ukraine, blah, blah, blah. And they asked me where I'm going. I said, I'm going to the hotel, and that Gostinitsa in Russian, but in Ukrainian, hotel is hotel too. But still, what happens is at the end of the day, I just show them the passport and yeah, sure, go on ahead. You're fine. No, there's no real hassle. So even when you're outside past curfew, if you're doing it for, a legitimate reason, like going from a train ticket to where you're staying, you're not going to have an issue in that. And I even offered to show them my ticket, and they didn't even want to see it in that. So it's really, the whole curfew thing is based more on the side, I think, of, if, say, I would say if you have a Russian passport, or let's say if you're just in some suspicious area, other than going to a hotel or wherever you're staying and such. That's my general opinion in that. But again, like I said, other than some little restrictions here and there, it's like living in an older version of the USA.
Yeah. I pulled up a few articles on the screen as you were talking, because there were
Sure.
some things I wanted to also talk about as well. And I know if you see the screen, this one article that I had pulled up, and this one was back in July 7th, right?
Here, maybe I need to stop sharing on my side. So 1 second.
Oh, okay.
So okay, sure, go ahead. So
yeah. So this one I won because I know that you and I have talked about this before about Poland and Western Ukraine. So I wanted to get your take because in this article is talking about the Polish army chief. He was preparing the Poles for total war, the plan to invade Western Ukraine via Ukrainian League. And so I've heard about they're putting together this, they call it the Ukrainian League. And so I wanted to get your take on, because I know that you said that Poland, I know we've talked about this before. You said that Poland would never go into Western Ukraine. Is that, I know you and I have talked about that before, or you had a.
well, from my opinion, if you want to share the article or send it through Telegram, my view is this, okay? And it's mixed from Ukrainian perspective to what I understand.
Right.
So, like Lviv and parts of Western Ukraine used to be a part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Then it used to be a part of what was considered Poland at the time. And that, but then Poland surrendered those lands at a different point in that. So, you know, every country claimed one land and then it got swallowed up by another. The first part is this, is if that was to occur, and of course anything can occur,
Right.
my opinion is that that would be some kind of, like, say, UN or NATO task force. That's how I think it would occur. And that just like how they did Bosnia or Serbia or, you know, any of the other UN type of countries that, you know, they had a peacekeeping force. That's how I think that the soldiers would come in. That's one side, if it was that. The other side, I know there's some Polish soldiers independently. They go into Ukraine and then they join the Foreign Legion in that, because Ukraine has a Foreign Legion and then they have like the regular Ukrainian army. And
Right.
so if you're a foreigner, you join the Foreign Legion and then you get tasked to go wherever you go.
That makes sense. I just thought this article was really interesting, but at the same time, you know, it was just something I wanted to talk to you about. And there's some few others I'll pull up on the screen. It talks about great flight attempts of mass escape Ukrainians. They're leaving the country to avoid to avoid conscription. Have you seen some of that where you're at? People avoiding.
You know, the conscription is a mixed bag. It's a
Right.
very mixed bag. There are, it could be 50-50, 60-40, in between 70-30. It's hard to really say, to be honest, okay? I know friends that willingly joined on the first day, like right when everything started in February, like 25th, 24th. I know friends that joined immediately. They just went down in droves, just like Fred people in 9/11 did. I know friends that did that. I know 2 or 3 friends that really were against the conscription and they delayed it off. Again, not naming names, but so one of them delayed being conscripted for a year or so. Now, he didn't go unwillingly. He reported in and they would tell him, oh yeah, you know, you should join, blah, blah, blah. And he would go, no, 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 I don't really want to join. But, you know, I will show up if you ask me to show up, to say, like, you know, am I here? Am I not here? And that. And so, like, for about a year, in that, he was going to these like little meetings where they would say, you know, you should join, you should join. And then eventually they said, like, okay, now you have to really, really, really join. And then of course, he got shipped out to Odessa, and that where he's been because of his English ability, and that he translates all the manuals from English into Ukrainian. And that, so again, the irony with it is you it depends how you look at it. You can get conscripted, and if you have a certain level of a skill, you're not near the danger point in that. And if in another way, if you don't have a skill, I think it really depends. There's an opportunity when you join into the military, if you know a certain group in a certain region where you want to be positioned, you can join that. So when you're joining or being conscripted, you're not always sent out like in the idea of Vietnam. You're not sent out right onto the front line, right into the danger zone. And that the from what I understand, most if they want to go east, it's because usually they want to go east. In that, if they want to be at some like very boring checkpoint in Lviv or Odessa or somewhere around, they have that choice. That's the way I understand it. Now, I can be wrong in certain details, but the way that I understand it is like that. Because at the end of the day, I have not had any Ukrainian friends die yet from the war. In that there's been two foreigners that I know died, but I only met one of them and knew one of them directly. The other one recently died, but it was a friend of a friend of a friend in that, and I never really knew him, but I had heard of him in general.
Now let's get some more coffee.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I will give you more coffee. Let me get the video back.
Yeah, sure. You're fine. By the way, I do some decent video editing too. Not perfect, but if you ever need the clip stuff or like edit it.
Right. Yeah, I'm still trying to learn all that. It's I don't know where my YouTube is gonna go. But I'm on this mission more, I think, to seek truth.
Yeah.
And actually,
awesome.
I mean, it's awesome to gotten to know you, gotten a chance. I mean, you reached out to me. What is it, last summer? And I was trying to get into it then, but also when you had reached out to me last summer, I had a friend of mine who passed away last summer, and I was going to him every day, talking to him, reading the Bible to him, and also talking to him about what was going on in Ukraine because I was trying to get into it then. And when he had passed, and when that happened, I kind of lost a little focus, and I'm more focused this summer than I was last summer. And but I think it gave us a year to talk off and on, and for you to send me stuff, and I would love to go out to Ukraine. I know I would, if my family and I can, we would love to, because I would love to see more of it. And I think that maybe that's something I can plan down the road. But
yeah, well, it's not only necessary about Ukraine. It's more of the travel experience. It's not
right,
because you get a different way of thinking from seeing how everything else is. So it makes you reanalyze and reorient how things are, like what's pro, what's con. Is this a good lifestyle? Is that a good lifestyle? It makes you kind of just reorient in that. Just like instead of being spinning on one axis, you can then spin on maybe two or three. Also in that, so other people don't think that I'm not in Ukraine. I should hold up a nice Pepsi bottle with with Ukrainian lettering. I'm not sure how clear it is, but or better yet, the big that doesn't look like 1 liter,
Well,
because there is no 1 liters.
well,
Or
whoever watches this video, I can also say he's definitely in Ukraine because I'm up and it's 5:30,
and,
5:39 in the morning here on the West Coast.
and,
So I
and
can,
then the other
yeah,
part,
yeah, I can definitely attest
where
that
does
you're in
this,
Ukraine.
yeah, well, where does this exist in the US? And that, which this is actually a Georgian thing. It's a hachapuri. I really like hachapuri. They make it's really funny, but so for this is basically like an omelet. They make bread and they put an omelet in it and they fill it with cheese. And it's made extremely hot in that. And tastes great, tastes excellent in that, and everything else. But I don't know. It's just one of these things. It's like or oh, here, wait, I got another cola bottle. I use these for my drinking water and that. So right there. But just like that in general. But it's one of these things that, you know, I came to Ukraine in 2018, and you know, ah, again, I'm not trying to down the US at all,
No,
but it's one of these things that when you're living at one cost of living, whatever that cost of living is at 2018, then you run into a different country by accident because you have to get out of Schengen visa time, and that you realize that if you're in Poland, like for Michigan pricing 2018, like a pizza would be like $10 to $13. That would be for a large, a cheese pizza. And then you go into Poland and it's like 6 to 7. And then you go into Ukraine, it's like $3 to $4. And you can order nearly the exact same thing. There might be a different topping, but it will be like 80-90% the same. And or the only thing they do different is they always add a lot of sauce. So like, for their cheeseburgers or their hamburgers, they add a bit of mayo to the cheeseburger, or just whatever type of sauce they have around instead of ketchup. They add a different type of sauce, which will throw off the cheeseburger taste a little bit, but it's a unique taste anyway. Sometimes good, sometimes yuck, but it works. But at the same time, the cost of living drops by, like, say, depending, sometimes 60 to 90% in that. I pay for an apartment that's roughly right now with exchange rate, it's $172. If I use only cash, it would be $160 for 600 square foot. And the last time I was in like 600 square foot, I was paying about $400 to $500 in Michigan. And that was 2007 to 2010 and that. So it all the cost of living stuff and that. I'm just trying to think, even gum, like buying a thing of gum. Oh yeah, I should have this somewhere here. And that. So another one, I buy a thing of gum always, and that just, in case traveling, bad breath, whatever. And that buying gum, it's like 20 cents in that, and it's like what, 80 cents to like $1.50 now.
yeah.
And that
Well,
I haven't looked at the price recently, so I don't know.
yeah, I don't buy too much gum, but I can kind of I know inflation here in the US is skyrocket. And I know that we deal with things called shrinkflation, where a lot of things we buy in the store have shrink, but
Yeah.
you're spending more. When I first moved to Oregon, when we moved to Oregon, that was in 2018, we got a 2.25% interest rate on our house. Of course, we all know who was president then, right? Okay?
Yeah.
If I was to sell, right, and move where I'm at in Eugene, and if I was to move to somewhere else in Oregon, I would never see a 2.25% interest rate again. I'm looking anywhere from 6 to 7% if I was to sell and move somewhere else in Oregon. And so it kind of shows you how things have changed. And that's the truth is I moved here in 2018 and it was a lot more affordable. And just in a short amount of time, things went from affordable to not being affordable. Does that make sense? So the U.S. it's definitely a joke in the U.S. I mean, I'm
Well,
seeing things a lot differently than I used to. That's for sure.
yeah, there's inflation in Ukraine, but if you have a foreign income, whether it's dollar or euro or British pound or any other foreign income, if you have a foreign income, you're kind of protected from the inflation. Now, stuff rises a little bit. It might rise 5 cents, 10 cents, 30 cents in terms of the inflation part with the dollar. It might rise a little bit, but the inflation generally will hit Ukrainians harder. And that because Ukrainians are living off of say 300 to 400 or $500 a month in that, but they're not paying rent. Very few of them are paying rent. They usually still live with family. So they're earning like say $200 to $500. Then they're buying food. Then they're buying this. Then they're that. And so basically, they end up spending probably about 200 to 300 in a month, and they might save 100 or 200 each month, or a little bit less than that. But at the end of the day, if you have like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, $4,000 for income, family income or not, and you get that from the U.S. side, the inflation is not really going to hit you. You might, at the end of the day, the inflation you might lose maybe say $20 or $40 in a month due to inflation, that's an estimate. That's a off the top of my head estimate. Um, and the reason why I say that is that if you live in the big city, like say Lviv or Kiev, things will be closer to a larger city type price, like a New York, like a California. But still, because it's Ukraine, Kiev will have European pricing. So Kiev will compete with Berlin, with Stockholm, with Paris pricing. Lviv will be more Ukrainian pricing. It will be basically whatever the price, the logic goes this way. Whatever the price is in Kiev, Lviv is 50% less.
Wow.
Then if you go from Lviv to any other small town, let's say a nowhere town, Ivano-Frankivsk, or somewhere else like Ternopil or whatever, the price for Ternopil, Ivano-Frankivsk, or some village town will be 50% less from Lviv in that. So basically, that's a common logic way to guess the price. So like my 600 square foot apartment here in Kalush should be not 180, but closer to like 300 or 400 now in Lviv in that.
Wow.
And then in Kiev, it should be like 500 to 700 in that. That's roughly what it should be in that. But that's in terms of pricing model. But at the same time, that's what opted me to stay because I could kind of live better. Everything that I wanted to do in the US, I ended up doing in Ukraine, for gooder and for worse. That's what ended up happening. And that having late nights and talking with random people, seeing drunk people walk around before the war, before Corona, seeing some stupid stuff in Ukraine here and there. If you wanted to experience it in the US, I experienced it in Ukraine. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, I enjoy some of the videos you send me with kids playing. The one you sent me last night or yesterday, and it almost sounds like my house hearing the kids play. It was, to me, when you send me those videos, you show me like what's really happening in Ukraine. Does that make sense? Like a little video like that goes a long way, right?
Yeah.
To me, it seems good to see children playing, meaning that when you send me that stuff, it's not like some YouTubers are saying, I don't see doom and gloom. When you send me children playing, it makes my heart happy, right? Because then I can see, well, it's not all doom and gloom. There's children outside playing, being children, and it's stuff like when you send me stuff like that, it makes me know that there are certain people who are trying to paint a different picture than what's really happening. Does that make sense? There's always troubles. There's always tribulations. I mean, there's always wars, famines. We know this stuff, but it's, to me, I love seeing that there's people painting doom and gloom, but there isn't always doom and gloom. Like, we do have a world where there is doom and gloom, of course, but I don't think that every waking minute of our world is doom and gloom. You're not here having a conversation. There's no doom and gloom, and the sky isn't falling right now. I don't hear mortars and, hitting your background. And I don't, what I'm saying? You're not hiding under your, yeah, you know what I mean? Yes.
Well, I'll give you another example too, and it's something that I noticed, and hopefully, whenever the war freezes, I hope it stops. Um, I remember going through Kyiv, and there was no metal detectors anywhere in the train station. And that now I didn't take the airport; I took the train station and that. But what happens is since the war started and that, in order to get into the train station, there's some military guys that are near the front door and they will do a document check. They just look at your passport for 2 minutes or less. And then you go in, and then there's a whole gated thing, just like in any courthouse or anything else, where you have to empty out your bag, like an airport, and they'll look through and they'll wand you in that. But I also remember in 2018, 2019, not a thing like that. And there's not even any real metal detectors that I've seen other than in the capital, in the train station. I don't see metal detectors in Lviv. I don't see them in Ivano-Frankivsk. I don't see them anywhere. And yet, it's a thing that, like, there's a thing that was once said about like terrorism in the US with 9/11 is, did the terrorists really succeed or did they lose? And at the end of the day, do we have less freedom or more freedom than that? Are we going through all the security checks, all this, all of that, which then creates a government bureaucracy, which may create a job, but then at the same time, like it's not the original old-fashioned USA, which I remember you could walk into an airport and you could walk up right up to the gate and see the plane take off. But now after 9/11, you can't do that. And, there's a lot of this kind of innocence in Ukraine. And I would probably say also probably in Russia as well, that, you know, there's no hassle. You don't have to go through like there's all this security bullshit that exists in the US for one reason or another reason. Or even if there's some little stupid misunderstanding, like if you get a speeding ticket in Ukraine and that, it doesn't go to a courthouse, and that usually the cop will stop you. They'll say, okay, you have to pay so much money for the fine or whatever, and that which will be ironically like about $5 to $20, and
Right.
it's done completely in that. Now you can look at that as bribery or this or that. It depends on how you look at it. But at the end of the day, in the US, you have a system, then you get a ticket, then you get points on your license, then you get like, you know, a whole cause and effect situation in that. But in Ukraine, you just pay the cop earns whatever money, then it's done. And there's no thing that said you have a ticket there other than the cop that you paid because you got a ticket. And that the system is not organized. And that you and actually you could say it's like going back 100 years in a way. And that's what kind of makes it more simple and yet unique. And that certain things are on more on a one-on-one scale.
I think that our system in the U.S. is complicated. When you're talking about tickets, it makes me think of a story back in 2013. I think it was 2013. It was my oldest son's birthday then, and I used to drive routes, local routes, and
Yeah.
I ended up getting into a very bad accident. The back tire blew out in the truck, and I ended up rolling this truck, which it should have killed me, but it didn't. Accident didn't. But I was ticketed during that as driving with unsafe speed. Well, the investigation revealed that I was only driving about maybe 55 to 60 miles an hour, which wasn't even close to the speed limit, which the speed limit at that time on that road was about 75 miles an hour. And so I remember being ticketed for that. I remember questioning it and what determines unsafe speed, even if you're not even driving at the speed limit, like I'm under the speed limit. So when we talk about our system in America, I think it's interesting when you show the differences and how we're ticketed. And that story back in 2013 is how I got ticketed for unsafe speed when, it was a very bad weather. The weather was bad then. So yeah, I think America is interesting and how our system works.
It's become bureaucratic.
Yeah, and that was back in 2013. It was more, even then it was about money. I mean, the ticket was more about money than it was anything else. It was what it came down to be. They just wanted me to pay the fine and be done. I think it was over a $300 fine was what it was, and they just wanted me to pay it. And but
Yeah. Well, but still, it's just one of these things that it's just more simple. Or also too, I don't think I can show it exactly, but you know, I thought I thought I locked myself out of the kitchen a few days ago, and I messaged the owner because I was thinking like how to get back in the kitchen because my iMac's in the kitchen and everything else. I work in the kitchen. Um, and I messaged the owner and I said, this is going to sound funny. And I run it through a Google Translate. And I said, this will sound funny, but I locked myself out of the kitchen. You know, like it's the worst thing in the world. You lock yourself out of the kitchen, you can't cook. And or the keys to the apartment are in the kitchen and that. And so it's kind of stupidly comical to happen. I message him. He comes over like, you know, about lunchtime. And basically for an hour, we kind of strategized what shall we do? His first step, because I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to be the vandal. It's better to have the owner do it with you than not. But basically he tried to take out one piece of the glass and he ended up breaking the glass to the door to get to the handle. And I thought like that I must have hit the lock on the door, and there is no lock on the door. what it ended up being, another Ukrainian guy came over. What it ended up being was the hinge, not on the door, but on the wall, got bent somehow. And so when I had shut the kitchen door, it stuck. And it stuck so tightly that when you're trying to push at the door, it won't go, but it feels like it's locked. And that. And basically, between like the 2 to 3 of us, we just pushed at the door. Like they tried to wedge it, and they realized that didn't work. So they just started to push on the door. And when the door came open, there was a piece of the hinge that just flies off and that. And again, now I'm not sure about the owner in his case. I'll probably pay if there's like a small little pane of glass, and I'll probably like have him replace it and buy a new one. But like like to get back into the kitchen, I didn't have to pay them any money directly. And that it was kind of like a, well, Ricky, we understand that you didn't really cause the issue other than shutting the door. And that, and not to mention too, he couldn't get in. I couldn't get in. Then he calls another maintenance friend of his, and like it was just like that. Like they were thinking like, well, what could be keeping the door? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And then it ended up being that just this little hinge part on the wall we got bent, and it was keeping it from moving in that. And I probably could have fixed it the night before, but I didn't want to run through the door to do it. Yeah, but it's just one of them things. I don't know, like being an American in the Ukraine, I would say it's mostly true for anywhere Eastern Europe as well. If you don't intend anything bad, if you play nice and coy, nice and gentle, nice and easy, nothing bad will happen. Most of the time, the Ukrainians, Latvians, Belarusians, etc., Russians, whatever, most of them will probably understand either A, you didn't know, B, they will help you, or C, they'll think, oh, well, this is funny. It happened with an American, and that they'll get some kind of like enjoyment out of it, and that, and so there's not like this, like this fear thing that they're gonna extort money out of you, or you did something wrong and the system will clamp down on you for some reason, and that it's kind of just like, how do you live your life? That's the way I look at it. And let's we can still talk, but maybe in a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes, the power may cut. But we'll see. So if it doesn't cut, we're good. But we'll keep on talking. So just to keep you aware.
No, it's okay. Well, I mean that we can quickly like move on too, but just in case, because like there's a few things I also want to talk about because I know that you and I have been talking also a lot about the shooting, right? The attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Yeah.
Trump.
And some other insights too. You had told me about the U.S. diplomat too, the mysterious death and those things. I want to talk to you about as well.
Well, in the diplomat sense, I don't have a first-hand thing. It was more of the story got shared to me than I shared it to you.
Right.
But in that essence of the thing. Now, I've been to the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv. I got my new passport from there. They did my passport in like 3 days in that, instead of it being like 3 weeks in the U.S. and that, or even sometimes 2 months, 3 months in the US. They did it in 3 days for the $140 price. But then at the same time, you know, I don't know what happened in that case with the diplomat, whether The story is he came to do financial records and then magically he died. It's a very unusual case.
Right.
Ukrainian friends of mine were all suspicious on it, but yet it's played out differently in the US side of the news. It's just one of them quirks in that different sources report the situation differently.
Yep. Well, I've read a lot of different sources, and the only thing that they, as far as the medical problem, it was talking about having high cholesterol, but you and I both know you don't drop dead of high cholesterol. I mean, not like that. So I
Well,
think some
yeah,
of the reports
the
are very interesting.
situation's too strange. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I you know, when that one I thought was very interesting when I looked into it, and I was surprised to see as many sources I did find on it, but I found it in areas where I called like buried news, where like Yahoo, for an instance, like I found it on Yahoo News. You know, I don't really read Yahoo News that much. You know, I mean, there's certain sources I read, but Yahoo News isn't always one of them. And so to find it in there made me, it's kind of like they're burying it a little bit. You know, they're reporting on it, but it's getting buried. You know,
Yeah.
they don't want a whole lot of people to know, so they just run what they run, and people. I've noticed with our news, a lot of people run with the narrative here in the U.S. A lot of people do. So when you say you're not trying to cut down the U.S., I try not to cut down the U.S., my own country, just like you do. But there's a lot of narratives that are fed, and people run with the narratives. Even on a lot of YouTube channels, run with the narrative. They
Yeah.
yeah, they believe what the narrative is.
Oh, it's the cookie cutter solution. That's what it is if you want to make fast money, fast production route, you go the cookie cutter method. The cookie
Right.
cutter method basically can magnify the audience, you magnify the money, you magnify it. So it's an easy approach if you're doing it the right way. And that it's the same, it's all a workflow. It's all a workflow at the end of the day. That's what it is. Um, but in what way did you want to cover the Trump shooting part? Or
Oh well, just maybe to hear some of your perspective, because you've also talked about your idea of when there could be another American Civil War, which I thought your take was very interesting. You were talking about 2 to possibly 3 more generations. I thought that was interesting perspective you had, and I kind of almost see where you're coming from after listening to Trump's speech, acceptance speech yesterday, and where kind of the country is going. It makes me wonder that the seeds are being laid right now. Like you were
well,
saying, we're laying the seeds for the Civil War. Like it's just a matter of time.
well, where I get my thinking from in general, okay, or at least the crux of everything, the root of how I'm looking at it is um, for the first Civil War, a lot of these seed starting things started between 1820 to 1830. Then obviously the Civil War took off around, let's say, it didn't start until like say 1860, but it was like a boiling point at 1855. And all the little things that added up to it, whether it was the Mason-Dixon line, whether it was, which I'm going to say it again, but differently, but the Mason-Dixon line was the thing that basically said that slavery cannot go above these northern territories or states, and everything south will be a slave state. That was one part of it. The other part of it was the Underground Railroad. There was these little tension spots. There was the senators or the politicians of the time that picked a side one way or another way, and that everyone picked a side one way or another. Some of these things pushed it further back, some of it pushed it further forward. And if you look at it in the sense of that, if it took 30 or 40 years from 1820 to 1860, depends when you start counting. It should take, that's where I get the 2 or 3 generations. I'm thinking another 30 to 70 years in that. So, or, I mean, depending on how you look at it, could be 1 or 2 generations, but that's the way I look at it. And there's another part too, is I remember once, somewhere around, let's say, 2003 to 2009, I remember talking to a guy that came back. He was a soldier. He was going to the VA in Ann Arbor. And he said something that was really interesting. He said something like, if everyone really knew what was really going on in Iraq or in the world, and that he said there would already be a war in this country. He said that, and he was a soldier going to the VA in Ann Arbor. And that it was a random conversation once. I don't know his name, don't really know anything else, but he had that conversation with me, waiting for a bus. And that's what forms my thinking from that level. And that the other part of it is this, is, in terms of Ukraine, which I think this gets misunderstood, in terms of Ukraine, in terms of Russia, in terms of Belarus, etc. Okay, there is a nationalism, but the nationalism is not what we think of as nationalism. It's what it really is it's patriotism, but they call it nationalism because it's national identity. That's first part. The second part is this, is it's not that the people are naive. They want to trust the newer government because everyone that's in government now was not in government during the Soviet Union. Okay, so they have a willingness to trust blindly a little bit on the terms of what is going on. That's first part. And this is probably very true in Russia and in Ukraine and around. The only issue is that a lot of Ukrainians or Russians, etc., get very paranoid about pensions because a lot of politicians will look at the pension fund and they'll steal money from it. So it's their version of the Social Security and that. And that's where most politicians will go, is they go to steal the money and then they disappear off. That's what usually will occur. And that, as for, like, say, the war, or everyone's getting so nationalized or this or that it's something like Nazis. It's not in that realm from my view. Is there some people that are extreme into that area? Yeah, sure, but at the end of the day, it's like having this as an argument. Are there Nazis in America? Yeah. Are there Nazis possibly in Ukraine? Yeah. Are there Nazis in Russia? Yeah. There's crazy people everywhere. The question is what is the percentage of the population that is in that direction? And that's the way that I look at it.
Right. Well, the other day I was reading, I don't know if you can see it on your screen. I pulled up this article, and it says, Zelensky, I don't know what Trump will do if he's reelected. Let's not wait for November. We must act immediately. So this article is playing off his words, right?
Yeah.
And so when I read through this article, and it wasn't very long anyway, but then again, I'm asking myself, could Ukraine be behind the assassination attempt of Donald Trump, right? Because I feel like Zelensky's petrified if Trump is elected. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts.
Actually, I would be not thinking that it's behind it. You know what I think this whole thing with Zelensky is
Right.
that is okay. It's you have to think of within relative terms of the culture, whether it's Russian, Ukrainian, or Slavic in general. In Slavic culture, a man is a man is the leader, the man decides, the man is just a center point. Okay. So Zelensky wants to look good and fresh in where he's leading in whatever direction. Because he has no direction if Trump wins, it makes him look like a fool and an idiot and the guy that's just being told what to do. That's what it makes him look as. So it's the saving face, saving grace, you know, a little bit of narcissism and everything else. Putin does the same thing. It's always the strong, fearless, confident, I'm pushing forward, boom, 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 boom. And that it's just the thing in the culture. They want to look good in this and that. So Zelensky's only thing to do, I think, is to whine and go, I want to know now. Because if I know now, then I can retranslate that or retranscribe it all over into whatever internal message that he will give to the country. And that's what I think that is boiling to. As for the assassination, you know, since everything is after Columbine, and well, I'm sure you know it better than me, or probably just as well as me, you know, a lot of people's mental health is declining. It's this it's the thing that I most admire about Ukraine in general is, you know, there's a lot more one-on-one, face-to-face sociability contact in that. And, you know, I grew up all my life one way in the US, and a little bit of sociability and everything else, school and that, and etc. But, you know, if you want to survive in Ukraine, you have to socialize one way or another. And that in the US, you know, you can have everything delivered to your door if you have enough money. And you don't need to socialize. And you know, I really think, you know, over a period of time, whether it's 1 year, 5 years more, um, a lot of that degrades on the mind. You know, you become antisocial, you become all these things. And then of course, if you mix meditation and whatever other situation or circumstance, you know, you know, everyone will go crazy at some point. It just depends when. That's what I think, really. So I really think, you know, it's the frog boiling in water analogy. I think of even when I was back in the US for the 2 months that I was back, um, from April to June, you know, me and a few clients were talking about it, and I kept saying to them that, like, you know, isn't it a little funny that when I'm in Ukraine, even though I'm in the middle of a country at war, not like the US is not at war with everything else outside of the US, but I'm in an actual war country that's at war directly within like 20 hours drive. And I have a more calmer atmosphere in that. Now, of course, I'm not watching news all the time. I'm not doing that, but I'm outside, I'm talking with people, blah, blah, blah. But yet, magically, in the US, everyone is getting more and more and becoming a newsaholic. And then they're becoming more isolated. And then they don't want to talk to someone else because they think they're crazy for one reason or another. And yet, you know, it all becomes like this, like a mental instability because no one is socializing and that, or no one is seeing each other face to face, whether it was because of COVID or not COVID or whatever, and that. And, you know, another thing too, I never got vaccinated. And I don't think I ever had COVID in that. And it's not that I wasn't careful in Ukraine. I just knew that if someone was coughing or sneezing within the area of me, wherever I was at, I stayed far away from them in that. But for 2 years, I never got sick in Ukraine in that. I knew some doctors that got COVID, but not anyone else in that. And their requirement, their mandate for their whole thing was everything shut down for 2 to 3 weeks. And then you could go back to the restaurant. You should wear a mask to enter the thing, but after entering, pull down the mask. There was not really any restriction after, let's say, a month when COVID started.
I guess I was one of those, right? When here in America, when the mask and the social distancing began, I remember standing in a store one day, and I was standing in line, and I said, if 6 feet works, then why do I need the mask? If the mask works, then why do I need 6 feet, right? And it started to dawn on me that none of it made any sense, because there's one or the other is okay. I mean, if both work, then why do you need one or the other? And it was, I noticed things were getting weird when I go to the grocery store and they were putting up the plexiglass to between you and the cashier, and I'm thinking, man, like like a lot of it was overkill, right? To me, it was overkill. If something is this bad, then why are we only being selected to go to certain stores? Because here in Oregon, a lot of our small businesses were shut down. They weren't allowed to operate, but we were told to go to Costco, Walmart, and then it started to dawn on me, these are bigger institutions that were I mean, these are,
They had better
my
lawyers.
mind started to tell me that this was more of this was planned, not just it was planned. And to me, it felt like a psyop in a way, that they were studying society, and they were studying us and how we would comply. That's how it started to feel to me, that we were like little guinea pigs, right?
Yeah. Now, again, also in Ukraine, there was a curfew, let's say about 10 or 11 o'clock to stop the spread part. But here's the thing. If the business had enough money, all they had to do was pay basically like a little bit of a bribe to the police to look the other way. And then the police the other way. So like if the larger the city, the more strict the restrictions. The smaller the area, the less restrict it was in that. But at the same time, Lviv was not really strict. Ivano-Frankivsk was not really strict. Kyiv was a little bit strict, but I mean, it, it's a thing. It's just, there's a lot of relaxed atmosphere in Ukraine, and I think that goes back by culture, even into Russia as well. But there's a it's a bad stereotype, but there's a stereotype about Ukrainians because it's supposed to be a lot of farmland, and because of the farmland, they always have these pictures of older Ukrainian generations 200 years ago. They have these drawings where Ukrainians would just be sleeping on hay in that everyone is just, just dulling their time away during the day and that. And it's even true in Ukraine. Like the workday will start at, say, not at 6 in the morning, not at 4 in the morning, but it starts at like 11 in the morning, 10 in the morning, and that. So like, in general, like even in a big city, there's nothing open at 6 or 8 in the morning, even in Kyiv, and that it will be open, say about 9, 10, 11 a.m. or noon, and that. So everyone, the work-centric stuff doesn't exist in Ukraine, in short. It's not a productive country in that way.
I was getting some more coffee.
Yeah, sure, no problem. No problem, no problem.
I usually drink about 3 cups or so.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, trying to get my brain rolling at times. I have a hard time. Just caffeine kind of helps get my brain rolling. I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping. I'm back to a whole not sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes and goes, and it always has since Iraq. My sleep sometimes will come and go. I have better days than others, but I don't know. Recently, I've kind of got that again, where it's just sleeping is really getting difficult, and I think a lot of it is the atmosphere. I notice when stress rises, so does the struggle that I have rises.
You want to know something that sometimes I have a theory. It's my personal theory, and it's
Right.
probably wrong. But something that I knew 10 years ago, and I experienced it in Ukraine. So when I live in Michigan, I wake up somewhere between 9 to 11 in the morning. Okay. And I wake up a little bit groggy, a little bit half asleep. And it takes me about an hour or so, like normal, to wake up. Different irony. Me living in Ukraine, I wake up between 4 to 6 in the morning, and I wake up completely alert. I don't need any coffee. I don't need any tea. I don't need nothing. I wake up completely alert. So I wake up on the military time schedule. And, like, I can't explain it, but sometimes I think maybe the body attunes not to a time zone, but maybe say to climate, to certain things, which then affects everything else. But like over here, I mean, I wake up at it's kind of a funny thing. Before the sun rises, the sky gets a little bit white and blue. And I kind of wake up right around that time, or right before everything starts to go from black. I wake up right around that time in Ukraine. And I'll wake up for 3 or 4 hours, do some stuff. Then I'll fall asleep for like an hour or two. And then I'm doing everything else from that. And it's kind of like a shift rotation schedule like that. So I wake up at 4 to 6, work till like say 6 to 8 or 9. Then I'll fall asleep for an hour or two, and then I'm doing whatever else. And but I don't know. It's one of them things. I don't know, like say maybe if you travel, like say, and I don't mean jet lag either, but sometimes I think maybe just like I said, the environment, the situation, the context, like it kind of again rewires or the body reattunes my thinking.
Mhm. Have you been to Eastern Ukraine yet since you've been back?
No. Probably I gotta think, probably around say the 25th to 28th, maybe 25th to 30th. Um, I will probably head back that way. I was in the East once. That was 2 years ago. But when I went there at that time, Bakhmut was still on the Ukrainian side. And the thing I remember most with Bakhmut, even though I was there for like a day, is the smell of the sulfur, the matchstick smell.
Mm.
And you could smell it throughout the air. And that's the thing that I will remember the most from that. I was in a town nearby that, which is Pokrovsk. The town was quite normal. It was a bit empty. There was a lot of soldiers there, but it was very quiet and peaceful there and that. And I remember walking through what I thought was the center of the city, but it was not. It was basically the center of houses. The, how the city was organized is that the center of the city is a bunch of houses. And I thought I would be walking through the center of the city, and I'm going through houses instead. But that's the difference of, say, Western Ukraine's organization to Eastern Ukraine's organization. But I mean, it was relaxed and everything there. And actually, when I was in Pokrovsk, I got dehydrated because I was walking for like 2 hours in the summer. I was walking in June in the summer, and I got dehydrated. And I didn't notice. I didn't notice it at all. But I was walking for 2 hours, and a Ukrainian woman that worked at the railroad, because I was asking what direction is the main city in, and it was the other direction. And she had said she had noticed that I had a little bit of a small nosebleed, which I do have on occasion, but I didn't even notice that I had a nosebleed, and that she noticed it, and that so it wasn't bad, but she noticed it and gave me water, everything else, and then I got on a taxi, and then I explored the really, really small, like 2 street long center of that city. 2 streets, 2 literal streets. And I mean, there's nothing bad in memory of that spot. And besides all the really bumpy roads and then they had the what do they call them from Saving Private Ryan with D-Day, the X's, the hedgehogs. They're hedgehogs, right?
Mm-hmm. Sonic the Hedgehog.
No. I mean the hedgehogs that prevent tanks going in.
Oh, I couldn't hear you. Sorry. Yeah. My hearing.
I think they're hedgehogs. But no, but in short, I've seen a lot of the things that were in D-Day and that were the X's, which are, I think they're hedgehogs, but regardless is going further and further east, you see more and more of them. In
Right.
Western Ukraine, you don't see them at all anymore. And that there's not in Western Ukraine, there's not even any checkpoints going on in Western Ukraine. At the beginning of the war, there was checkpoints every time you entered and left the city. Now, no.
Yeah, kind of, as you're explaining East and Western Ukraine, it kind of sounds like how the setup was when I was in Iraq. In Iraq, we had Southern Iraq and then we had Northern Iraq. Southern Iraq there was less issues in Southern Iraq. Northern Iraq was where all the heavy concentrated fighting was at. And so when I'm listening to you kind of explain that, I'm thinking, it kind of sounds like when I was in Iraq. You have basically a green zone, and then you have all the concentrated fighting at one end, while the other end is more peaceful, where you don't have as much trouble. You don't see as many checkpoints. So yeah, it's very interesting how I see similarities between Ukraine and Iraq. or when I'm listening to you talk. It's very interesting
Yeah.
to me. The similarities. It's almost like,
Well, what it boils down to is this, is like, depending what you call an economy and that, and I have a theory that the US doesn't really have an economy anymore, but it just goes from event to event to event, which then
right.
creates a miniature version of an economy at scale. But Western Ukraine has a lot of tourism in that, in part because they have the Carpathian Mountains, which basically there's a lot of people that will go climbing mountains and go on hikes, go on adventures, go live in the wilderness, etc. That's what Western Ukraine is very big for, whether it's Bukovel, whether it's Uremche, or other like little hotspot things. Uzhhorod is another example.
Right.
But like in general, like let me think if I still have it here. I'm gonna try to find if I have a drone photo. In a second. I'll give you an idea with your MJ and that, because I did a photo long ago. Where is it gonna be? I think it's going to be either in my Flickr or in my Facebook. It's gonna be in one of the two in that, because before the war, during Corona, I had a drone and I was flying it around, and I did photos and video of Lviv, of Ivano-Frankivsk, etc. And that, just things that you would not think exist in Ukraine. Let's see here. I know it's going to be in my Ukraine photos, or it's going to be in my Facebook photos. I just can't remember which. That's the issue. And that, but just to give you an idea of like just like the pristine nature of everything. Ukraine, I want 3,000 photos. Okay, so let me see. So let's see. I'm gonna dig around, but I'll continue to talk while this is going on. But lead me on with another question in that, so while I'm looking for these photos.
I muted just for a second. I had to put
Okay.
everything on charge. My my battery is
okay.
at 47%.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Where I probably have this photo. Let me see. RAM. Gotta find out where I gotta find the spelling. RAM. Because I know it's in. I know it's in my. Oh, yeah, I could show it even the Google photo side. Maybe I should just do that. It's Google Photos. But basically, like, I did this drone video and photos of the area and that. And oh, okay. So let me see here. I'm one side. So let me share my screen again. Let's see my Chrome. So here we go. You see my screen, right?
No, not yet.
Okay. maybe I need to hit a button. Oh, share. I need to hit share. Okay, so
There we go.
1 second. Okay, so see, I did this video. Move that around. I did this video, or photo, I should say, in that of Uremche, and that, and this is a tourist area, in that. But like, I don't think I can zoom. No, I can't zoom in on the photo. But you know, it's just mountains, it's slopes. Oh, that's not that. 1 second. Where did I put it? Oh, yeah, me in posts. Let me see. So, yeah, it's in my Ukraine album. So I got to do. Let me do these dates. So, come on. Facebook use organize stuff so interestingly, but not the way that I want it to be. Uh, so, okay, let me see if I get this through here. And then, so I should go to September 2021. Oh yeah, when I first came into Ukraine. Nice, funny, like t-shirt for a girl. And that, don't know the girl's name, just saw the t-shirt. I thought it was funny.
Yes.
Little things like that, or they have a mocking version of Obama and Hope, and it's an alcohol thing. They have a Trump one, and they also have
Yeah.
a Putin one, and that, and or also a sign, no peeing, scissors, and eggs like balls, and that. But just, you know, there's like a little internal creativity
Yeah.
in Ukrainian minds. And they even, another example, they created this like hotel hostel and made it look like a prison in that. So you could have the experience of being in a prison. And that, oh, and this different place. Not to be on a religious broadcast, but but regardless of this, you know, there's like just a unique flavor in that. That's the only way I can put it. There's like this whole little creative niche, and this is a Big Mac or Beer Mac, and they have this whole thing here. Trump, the president of the divided states of America, their idea.
That's funny.
But it's just, you know, it's all this creativity, but their version of a
Right.
creative.
No, yes.
And then a borrowed Jessica Rabbit thing. This is for strip club and that. But you know, they borrowed a lot of little iconography from the US. And we'll see if I get down all the way. And what I should do, I should not do it this way. How you, when you sort your photos, feed view. Yeah, there we go. That way I know where I'm going, like how far I'm going down. But regardless of what it is and everything, the architecture for Lviv, if there's anything you notice in that, tell me to stop for a second and I'll point it out. By the way, also, difference between Poland, this is Poland over here, which this is Shemish. So
Right.
like, say for Michigan to Ohio, this would be like Toledo, Ohio, and then this would be like Monroe County, which is where I'm from. But the difference between this area is 1 hour
Wow.
right here by driving. It's 1 hour. And that, like say from I have, okay, so let's say Warsaw. Okay, so let's say Warsaw right here, and that all the way to here is 8 or 9 hours by
Wow.
bus. In terms of distance, an example.
Right.
And,
No.
in that, let's see.
And you said from where you're at to where the war is, you said it's like a 20-hour drive. Is that what you said?
Around there, depending on
Wow.
how the traffic is, depending
Right.
on certain variables. It's probably closer to like 30 or 36.
But
But
see, that's interesting how you put that in perspective, though. I mean, that's a long drive. If you're talking, okay, think about it. If I was to drive from Oregon to Texas, it would be about 30 hours, right? Somewhere around there. So
yeah.
You're talking thousands of miles, right? Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's
yeah. Well, the short idea is that Ukraine is like a little bit bigger than Texas.
right.
And that
Yeah.
it's roughly the size of Texas. So it's basically the war is on one, if Texas was at war with itself, the
Yes.
war is not with on the other side of Texas. And that, yeah. Or let's see, uh, like say random video. So Madonna that I took. This is where I am at now, at like that 2:10, 3:20 p.m. But I'm thinking enough people the Ukrainian around. Time zone. So just think 7 hours back. And like this is a normal day, but no one will show this on the news. Yeah, well, that was my whole point of doing that. And, these two got married. But and the guy is Mexican American from Texas. And that. And oh, by the way, this is how they translate um like American breakfast right here and that. So to understand, like this is their version of sausage, eggs, and it's like $3. Even this is like $2 to $3.
Wow, that's a lot of food. $2-3.
But here's the thing: they mix up, like I said, they mix up the sauce and they give you something else.
That'd be $15 in America.
Yeah, no, I know, but but it's just a thing of where do you want to put your money? That's the way to get it. You can save it or you cannot save it. And I rather save it. Here is the opera house in Lviv. And this was in Christmas 2022. And at the end of the day, like the opera right there, a bunch of people walking around. Oh, and where there's a place I stay. This will be funny. You can show this to the wife. If you read right here, I said, I think my fiance found me. She's quite angry because this dog always barks when it sees me. In that, like anytime I'm in that area near where that dog lives, it's always barking and following me. And it's just like a little comical thing. And that, just like, yeah. Conversation. How much was the cost of the meal? $3.
UN. That's the UN.
Yeah. I was in a restaurant. And I looked out the window and I go, it's a UN. And that. Again, whenever I'm in whenever I'm there, but it's World Health Organization. So someone with that. But it's again just one of them things of whatever I always find like interesting or abnormal, I end up posting it back down. So I'm not getting there any faster. Oh yeah, me making a joke of demolition man with things. Let's see, where am I at? 2022. Ooh, I got a whole another year to go through. Oh, I wish they organized, you know, it's a thing with Facebook. I liked it when you could jump a year and go into certain places, and now you can't do it. You got to go like through everything meticulously. Oh, this was this was my penthouse. Yeah, this was like a little bit of a view from or no, not my penthouse, but this is from the train and that, and like that, just pretty normal, quiet like that. I thought it was from the penthouse because the view was at an angle, and when I had the penthouse, that was 9 floors up. Facebook load. As I get to 2021, as I get there, let's see. And always I have some friends from school and such liking posts
Mm.
and that. Let's see. Oh, too, in Schindler's List. I was watching Schindler's List one time, and at the very beginning, I'm from the University of Lviv. I thought like because I heard the name when I was watching it in the background, I thought like, really now? for the for the for the times that I watched it, maybe like 3 or 4 times before, and then I think, oh, I know exactly where that city is. Or here in Kiev, again, a business decided to be creative. Mr. Grill,
Mm.
Obama, I love hot dogs. Just their version of being creative.
Right. No, it makes sense.
That and then when this loads again.
Very interesting.
Sure, no problem. Let's see. Come on. So let's see, going down further. We've only gone through 2 years of photos and videos. Down further. Let's see. Oh yeah, the one thing they will skimp out on is ice cream. When you order ice cream, they'll give you a small scoop. That's the only other thing. And this right here, this is their version of, let's say, about $25 in that. And I know the girl, she's still a good friend of mine in that. But she's like 21, 22 in that. She liked to follow me around everywhere. And I think somewhere right around here, there was a crazy guy. Well, again, the randomness of Ukraine. Yeah. Probably something a little wrong with him. But just that. But sometimes some people breakfast again. Da da da. Oh, it's like me being a foodaholic. taking photos of food and that. Everything always like that. It's kind of like becoming a foodie. Oh, this is supposed to be like a shish kebab here. And that
Huh.
their version of a shish kebab. Let's see. I'm not even before the war yet. I'm getting close to before the war and that. But let's see. Come on. Maybe I can. Thinking. Do I want to try to do a search? The end is near. Ha ha ha. Again, another one like that. Let's see. Oh, another part too. This is from Kiev. City-wise. And a lot of this is walkable in that. But to give you an idea of like Kiev is like New York in that, but it's all spread out and walkable in that. But you know, you can take like say 4 to 5 hours and walk from one point to another and still not be done. And that it's just one of them types of cities in general.
Wow. From
And
that,
that,
I mean, that picture, it looks like a beautiful walk. And I'm looking at that picture.
yeah.
Kind of
It's
looks like
just,
almost like downtown Portland in a way.
yeah. And like say going from here to there, this takes like about 5 or 6 hours in that. Uh, I was gonna say whether that was a missile one or not. Here's my trip east. Some bits of it, some small bits of it. Because it was, like I said, it was about 2 years ago, so it was June. So this is right about the time.
Wow.
And that. And just like that. But yeah, this is all Kharkiv. This is Donetsk and that.
If you go east, if you were to go east now, you would have to deal with Russian checkpoints. Is that what you have to deal with?
No, I wouldn't be that far. I wouldn't be that far. I would deal with Ukrainian checkpoints, but
Okay.
I won't have to really deal with it. Because I'll be with a Ukrainian friend that's a soldier, and
Right.
that's basically my pass. And that, you know,
Yeah.
basically it's the company you're with, and that. So if you're with good company and good friends, blah blah blah. Oh yeah, funny thing. Facebook has used your location 182 times, like that, and everything. And this is Kharkiv too, right here. This is Kharkiv, and that this is the rail. I'm trying to think. This is the railway station, if I remember, or that's the railway station. It's been 2 years. I can't remember. But again, just like that. And oh, yeah, candy bar that's called Gangster. Just things like that. Be taking a photo. This is before I went to the Capitol when a friend of mine was telling me, and also a little bit military propaganda type of thing right here. And that, you know, just the typical flyer poster board type thing. I will show you this if it's noticeable. This was 2 years ago. It's not true now. So to give you an idea, if I go right again, this is Lviv. So right in this area, there was a Red Cross tent, and then there was a military tent too. And that, now nothing happened. There was no bomb that went there or anything in that, but they had a military tent there right next to a Red Cross one. But this is the whole thing there with that. But there was one video I think I got closer, but I didn't want to be so out there with it. Whenever it closes out from here. Wait. Close out the video. Usually also too, one thing as well is for this, in the English sense of it, they will run Ukrainian and then they will run English, or they run English, then they run Ukrainian. It's just one of them types of things in general. And that, again, more pizza, more pizza, more pizza, more food, more food. Let me see if I can just search Urimache. So let me see here. Yeah, this was again a war update thing that I would get right there. Let me try to see if I can search this because it's taking too long. Search. Oof, getting lucky. I bet you at 6 o'clock, it's 5 p.m. now, but I bet you at 6 is when they will cut the electricity, or 8.
Yeah.
Just my feeling. It's just my feeling, because it's that, or they're gonna run the electricity normal all the way through today. It's one of the two.
Yeah, no,
but you know, I'm sitting there thinking like, getting too lucky in that. Let's see here, 1 second.
we're set up for, we have like almost another hour or so, because I set the duration up for 3 hours in case there was technical difficulties. So we technically have 58 minutes left, because I had set it up for originally 3 hours. So
yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
By the way, are you paying for Zoom, or are you using like a free trial thing or whatever?
Oh, I pay for Zoom. Yeah, I use it a lot actually when I do a lot of my videos, because I can set up and show and share the screens when I do a lot of readings, or if I'm doing like my news updates. Zoom has really kind of helped me organize things, but I don't think I pay that much for it. I don't know. I think it comes out automatically, but I seem to like the setup so far. But
okay, so here we go. This is what I was shooting for. I was shooting for my videos that I got, and that of how everything looks in the sense. And you know, there's tons of places in the US that look like this, the Appalachians, etc. But then you have all the cost, the time, and everything that gets there. But when you're in Ukraine, you can spend $10 to $20 and get there. You can take a tourist thing, like for per person, it costs like maybe $30. And they'll give you like a little vacation type thing where you basically go on the whole thing. You go on this thing where they take like a truck and you go four-wheeling up the mountain and everything else. Where's my quality? At 144. Let me get some normal quality here. Not the bad quality. But so again, this is like mountains, like tourism area. and they have spas and they have all these like things and everything. But what's really captivating is like the way that it looks. And this is my okay or too slow drone flying. And me trying to catch everything in the shot. But just very scenic, extremely scenic in that.
Wow.
And this is the thing too that I think a lot of people misunderstand about with Ukraine. They keep seeing the Soviet shit, or like they envision the Ukraine or even Russia as this Soviet monolith thing that never changed. And it's completely not that at all. And that, there's like a town over here, over there, little bit there, stuff there, little bit stuff there, little bit stuff there, just just like that. And where I took the drone off was on a hill. And that, if I get the right way, yeah. So I'm like right here. And that, and you have people that are parking all along that road, and they're walking up the hill.
Yeah.
And that, but this is the thing about it is however, one way or another, all the money that went into Ukraine one way or another before the war, somewhere in the 90s, somewhere in the 2000s, whatever the time was, they reinvested it in that. And that's the thing that's never seen or never shown about Ukraine in general.
Right.
And they never talk about that too either.
So is our money being wasted, the billions?
Oh yeah,
Or is it going to?
I'm sure it is at some level.
Yeah, no, I was just being sarcastic. I was, no, I was.
But you have to imagine how much money it took to build all of this way before.
Right.
And this, where your MJ is, it's only 2 hours like south. Yeah, it's like 2 hours south of me. And this area is fine. It's normal. And that it's untouched, no damage, no nothing.
Kind of looks like how I live here in Eugene, Oregon. I mean, it's beautiful, man. It's just, that's a beautiful scenery.
It's simple. It's just,
yeah.
And again, none of it ever makes it onto the news. There's a lot of people that come and say for like dental tourism or whatever type of cheap like traveling, because it's cheaper in Ukraine to purchase it by. And it's just one of them things, but it's just like that. But it's a totally different reality in that sense. And let me see, this was UMJ. So this is Nardvinia, or I'm saying it wrong, I'm sure I am, or Nardvinia, which is another town close by it. So let's see here. I should have did the search first. But again, this is a village town, this right here. And that it's a nowhere town, like a nowhere town in the middle of the US. And that. Now, so these buildings are a little bit older and that, but you don't see the decay. There will be some Soviet buildings somewhere. and that, but it will be far off, very far off, or it will be replaced. But like all of these buildings, these are apartment buildings. I think this is like a school thing here. Just little things like that.
Right.
And again, this is the thing that's this whole irony is Kyiv looks one way, how the city is organized, how it looks, and everything else. Okay. And then you have these small villages in the middle of nowhere. And that, and I got this music. Oh, by the way, there, 1 second. I got this music from Dr. Zhivago, actually, back in the day. But right there, you have a church right there. And that, and again, if you notice everything, all the streets are connected, all of them are walkable, all of this stuff. And that, and some farmer over here is burning something. And that, and again, more and more mountains, more and more mountains. And that, it's just, here's your Soviet stuff. Okay, so there's a Soviet one. There's a Soviet one. There's a Soviet one. But like, it's like 3 or 4 buildings in that. And out of all the other buildings in that. So you get like 3 or 4 or 5 older buildings. Just one of them things in that. And they have a little lake, all this stuff. Like I said, it's a different country.
Yes.
Than what's projected on the news.
No. I actually agree with you because, you know, a lot of different people I follow, like I said, like I think talking earlier about how the picture is painted on some people painted the doom and gloom, right? And
yeah,
when I talk to you, I don't see that. Is you're showing me what's happening in Ukraine while others are trying to paint this doom and gloom, and you know, I don't see doom and gloom, right? Yeah, a country's at war, but I don't see doom and gloom. I mean, it's
yeah. Well, again, the irony, which there's a lot of Ukrainians will say this, and that is well, like they'll say that the U.S. is not at war, and me and you would say, oh, really? What region?
yeah,
yeah. But because I'm sure there's someone still not in Sudan, but Mogadishu is which country? I forgot at the moment. We were
say that
there.
again.
Mogadishu, where Black Hawk Down happened.
Oh, Somalia.
Okay, yeah. And there was that. We have some people there. We have some people in Iraq. I think we're still in Afghanistan, but we just control the airspace. I mean, we're literally almost everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
But yet Ukrainians don't pay attention to this and that. And I don't even think sometimes Russians do either. But again, all of this, like, it's very picturesque, very, very picturesque in that. And I think, I can't remember what, God, I took this video September 6th, 2021. And that's when I took it and that. And yeah. So like almost 3 years ago. But it's just one of them things in that. And I'll tell you, I think there's a business idea in it. There's a lot of YouTubers that do these traveling ones. They travel to all the major cities in Ukraine.
Right.
And they explain whatever's in the city or how cheap it is and that. I can't get a lot of Ukrainians do it. They don't see the possibility in it. But to run around into all these smaller towns and villages, fly a drone, record it, walk around, show what's going on in the city or whatever, or get a detailed list of stuff that's going on in the city, and that it would be just to have a YouTube channel that's dedicated to that. Or use the YouTube video and then make a website with an informational panel that says whatever is in this city or this or that, or information or details, businesses or this or that. And, it's another thing that exists besides power lines, just like in the US and that. But it's just like that. Just very, very general, very basic in that. And let me see. Yeah, and the results. So like I got a few of my nice little photos and that and everything. But I mean, like I said, it's a different country than what everyone thinks it is. And my grandma grew up in Appalachia in that. And it's one of these things that I think she would appreciate it, but she doesn't think that Ukraine is so safe. And this was my driver, by the way, Vitaly, and that, and everything. He knew the area better than me. He worked in the area at one time. Let me see. This is him driving and me recording. And a lot of these things too are also hotels in different spots. Another thing too, everyone bitches about the roads. Everyone bitches about the roads, right?
Yes.
But look at their roads. It's almost normal or even better than ours. And again, this is tourist area, so the roads are better. There's some areas in Ukraine, there's a lot of potholes in some areas. It's true. But like there's like this whole thing that some of Ukraine has very good roads, almost better than the US.
It was one of my chief complaints here in the US. Our roads are they're not so good anymore. Not even when I used to live in Texas, the roads are bad. Moved to Oregon, roads are bad. It's amazing.
Just like that, like just driving around. It's funny. I haven't seen these videos that I put in like a year or two, so it's like different for me to look at it from a few years later, and that. Yeah. So that was those, but it's just one of these things, like uh, everything, and everything, and that. I'm just trying to think what else, what other little tidbit side parts you got that you want to ask me on? If you,
I don't know. I
maybe
think I've
forget.
asked about everything. I think it's come to my mind.
Oh yeah, by the
We
way,
definitely have to do this again. We should
yeah,
like schedule this probably. Well, I would say once a week if you can, or
sure.
yeah. I mean, I've actually enjoyed this, and I think that maybe other people who view this will enjoy this too. I mean, you're showing things about Ukraine that are very interesting, and
Well,
it's
also too, this girl here is in territorial defense. She's from Odessa originally, and somewhere in here I got photos with her in her uniform. Actually, it's this. This is her in uniform, and that. But she's only like 22, 23, and that. So it's just that's the other part of it too, is that. And she signed up. She was not a conscript. She signed up completely willingly,
cool.
and that. So it's one of these things. It's your personality. Some people want to jump into the action in that. If you know that better than me.
Yeah.
And other people want to be a little bit resistant, everything else. But it's her. Her name's Olga, and that, and just like that, and everything.
No, I have a lot of respect for war fighters. I mean, with my background, it's
Yeah,
no, it's that's the thing. I think a lot of people don't understand that the military, no matter whether the U.S. or any other country, everybody has what they consider patriotism. Does that make sense? Like
yeah,
the idea of patriotism is different for all of us. So, and I've realized that no matter what country you're in, even whether it's Russia, Ukraine, Iraq, Afghanistan, everybody has their idea of what they believe patriotism is in their own mind. And so we have to take that in consideration is, you know, I don't want to get too much on the high horse, but I mean, I think the situation with Ukraine and Russia is complicated, and it's,
yeah,
I feel like NATO caused a lot of it. At the same time, I don't agree with Russia invading Ukraine, and so I'm kind of like on the back burner where I feel NATO caused a lot of this, but then I don't agree with Russia invading Ukraine. So it's kind of, for
I
me,
don't know.
it's
I know what you mean. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, no, it's a mixed bag, and I've
yeah,
said this very well. I've said it very well too, that there's not really any innocent. Well, I mean, there's innocent people caught up in it,
right,
but at the end of the day, you know, every side's guilty to some extent. And again, this is another drone photo, and that, and this was my penthouse here,
mm-hmm.
so I can zoom the flicker and that. So to understand something, like over here is the center of the city, this part right here. Then I lived over here. Now, this is at an angle. If this is the center, this is like at an angle. And this was the ninth floor. I had the top of the building for $450 a month in that. I had 3,000 square foot, 3,000 square foot for 450 bucks from 2020 to 2022. I let go of this apartment 1 month before the war. And the most funniest thing is so this whole floor was mine. And so was this. And right up here was a sauna and that. I could have a sauna and heat everything up, or
Mm-hmm.
you could sit on the patio and like look at the sky and everything else. And I have video from that too, but that's another day, different type of thing.
Oh yeah. That's a heck of a view. I would enjoy that view.
Well, you can see it actually. 1 second. This was more closer to sunset, and like I had this, like the drone was right outside and that, but just one of them things like that. And then here was the girls from Kalush. They were sisters and that. So this was one of the sisters, and then the other is around and that. And also again, me always doing photos with girls and that kind of the side thing to do and that. And again, this is Ivano Frankivsk, another example. Oh, this was the other sister right here, and that Yana and Olesia. So again, Ivano Frankivsk, and this is 250,000 people in that, in terms of size, in terms of everything, and that. Let me see if there's another photo in that. Let me see here. 1 second. Something of this effect. So like, this is 250,000 people in terms of a city. and that's how big Ivano-Frankivsk is. And Lviv is like 1 million to 2 million, and Kyiv on a normal day should be 5 to 10 million in that. So again, like when they do the stats of how many people left the country, in that most of the people that left were not necessarily all from Western Ukraine. It was more of the people from like the capital and further east. The people that went east moved more towards the center, or they went to Lviv. There was some people that moved from the west to like Poland, but then they moved back in and that. But again, did all these photos before the war. And this is a restaurant too, on the like 10th or 11th floor. They have this restaurant where like you can just walk around and see the whole parts of the city at the top. And it's called oh, I forgot the name of it right now, but so wait, 1 2 3 4, okay, so it's 6 floors up and that, but just like that in general. Oh, it's Legenda. Yeah, Legenda is the name of the restaurant, Legenda. And that their play on the word legend. But just like that and everything else. Oh, whoopsie. I gotta jump around here. One second. I forgot. Because I did a nude photo shoot. There was a girl that wanted a nude photo shoot.
I don't think YouTube's gonna hit that, are they?
That I forgot about it till I saw it. Anyways, I do shoots with this girl. This girl is Maria. She's 20, around 20. And that I did like a creative patriotism type of shoot and that. And everything else. And that this is probably the best shot.
Do you have any do you have like any videos of talking to those who have served in the military from their like point of view of the war?
You know, it's a lot of Ukrainians are very private. That's one part of it. They're extremely private. Like if you have the conversation directly in person, they will do it. But usually they don't want to be recorded with it. I think it depends on the issue. Like, you know, my lawyer friend Yuri, he will do it because he's more different thinking. But some Ukrainians, yes or no. You know, like a lot of other Ukrainians would probably tell you, but they won't do it on camera. And this girl here, Ava, is my graphic designer, and that everything else, and that. And oh, this is in Odessa, by the way. This part right here, because we're getting towards the end of my photos from Flickr. Oh, and they have a business called Hawaii in Odessa, called Hawaii, Odessa. In that, and you know, they borrow a lot of kind of, again, euphemisms, iconography from us in a way, in that we're Queen Odessa in construction, even during war, and that they're doing construction of something great there. And this is Arcadia. This is like the tourist area in Odessa, Arcadia. But regardless of that, like just one of them things. And here's Maria. I did these photos just recently. And that, oh, another religious one in that huge church in Odessa.
Wow, that's
Right.
beautiful. That
In
is a
that,
beautiful. Is that Orthodox Church? Is it?
I don't know.
Oh,
I if I like taking a photo, I take a photo. That's the way I am with it. And also too, like me and her did a shoot. She had a pink dress and then a black dress. And I didn't realize it, but this was the restaurant she picked was one that basically had the Ukrainian trident on it, the Ukrainian symbol for the
hmm.
country. And that, so she knew this. I didn't know this. And so we did photos at the top and everything else, all of these things. And but again, here's another thing too. Ukraine is great for photo shooting because of the architecture and that. So like from the other photos, this is in Ivano-Frankivsk on one side of it. So I take a photo here, and then there's the center of the city there. Because the this is the Ratusha, which is basically like the city hall in
Right.
that. So that shows me the direction of where the center is in that. Just one of them things, just like that in everything. In that. But she wanted a more professional, business casual type of look
Right.
in that. And I probably should try to plug her Instagram at the same time. Let's see. Uh, Let me see here. 1 second. She's got 2 Instagrams. Actually, she's got 3. One of them is more private, and then the other is more other, just like random, I think. But let's see here. Nothing bad should pop up in my Instagram, hopefully. And that other than Ukrainian friend, an ad, and nothing. That I got subscribed into a lot of model stuff, so I never know what they will go shooting for. So this is her as well, and that. So she's selling clothing and modeling clothing, and that's what she's doing, and that simple thing Ukrainian girls do, and that, and then I'll see her other Instagram is like Maria ish, like that, and her shoot, and that. But this is more of her personal Instagram thing. But I
Right.
guess she does a little bit of an outtake, like an outtake. Not sure what the creative idea was to drink and spill it on the dress, but or that she
Interesting.
was desperate for some wine. But just one of them things, and that, and just all of this, all of that, and all of it, just like that. Oh, I can't think of anything else. I don't know if you can. And I'll
Oh no,
ask.
no, no, no. We're about. I was about to
uh,
say it's almost getting to that time, but
Yeah, you know,
I think we should plan this at least once a week, right? We could.
yeah,
I would love to do this once a week, and so we can have more things planned. I mean, next time I guess we could plan a topic or something, man, and I'm saying like each week we could do
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Well, too, I can ask Yuri. Yuri can join into the call as well, and that,
Right. Yeah.
and
That would be awesome. But I think we'll go ahead. I mean, it's 7:34 here my time, so
yeah,
I'm gonna have to let the
and
iPad charge in a minute.
5:35.
I think I'm at 46%. So on the iPad, so even with the
Yeah,
charging, so.
gotcha,
But
gotcha.
other than that, man,
Yeah,
I appreciate the time. So it was.
yeah, yeah,
Thank you
no
for
problem.
sharing.
We're lucky in this case that there was no power outage. And that, by the
Yeah, I
way,
know.
this is
I was
another
thinking the same thing.
Ukrainian
I mean,
girl.
there wasn't any difficulties at all. So
Oh, I'll tell you something with this girl. I don't know her. She's a model. A little bit questionable of photography. I know this, but she has a tattoo, and I know she did it for artistic reasons and that, but she actually has a tattoo with a swastika like around her wrist. But I know she did it for creativity, or is like the spiritual meaning in that. I don't know where the photo is at, but it's somewhere. She has a photo where she took a photo of it in that. But she does all this like modeling, a little bit like punk style, alternative style. Ah, there you go.
yeah, there it is.
And that and now the reason why I point this out is this. One, if you look at the girl, you can tell she's a creative, artistic girl in the sense that she likes tattoos or she's just alternative thinking and that. But then she has a swastika tattoo, but with the dots in them. So, what's the interpretation? So, again, oh no, everyone goes, there's a swastika, but then when you bring it into full context, and that when the girl, she likes looking sexy, she likes
Well,
looking this, she likes
even on that
looking that.
picture, the tattoo with the what looks like the pyramid, kind of
Yeah,
is interesting tattoo. It's there's so many meanings behind the pyramid. Like I study
yeah,
theology, so I mean it's like from a theological standpoint, like there's so many meanings to things. So when I see the pyramid too, I think my mind's like, oh, her. It's very interesting the
yeah.
symbolism. Yeah.
And me and her may do a shoot sometime, me and her might. And that I don't know. It depends when she's in the area or when I'm in Kiev and that's all it is. But going to Kiev costs me like $10 to $20. It doesn't kill me. But still at the end of the day, like again, if you only look at the photo without context,
Right.
context being key, you, everything can get misinterpreted in
That's
that.
true.
But she's more of an artistic type of girl than that, and just one of them things, just in general, just like that. And I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. This is something from this is Ukrainian, but they're explaining the
Take a
shot.
look what happened.
They're explaining it in Ukrainian, the shot, and that because this is Trump's name in
Right.
Ukrainian or Cyrillic, and that I believe this is not or no VEY. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I can read a little bit of Ukrainian, but not everything.
Yeah, it looked like they were explaining how he like turned his head, and it was what it looked
Yeah,
like to me because he was looking at a globotron or something, and he was explaining something from I guess when he was in office, and he had turned his head because he was up on a globotron, and from
yeah,
what I remember, he was explaining something, and that And then I guess there's so many details into that. I mean, the Butler County Sheriff said that one of their deputies actually got up on the roof and saw the shooter. The shooter then turned around and pointed his rifle at the deputy. The deputy then fell 8 feet. And then the shots rang out. So there's a lot of details in there. There's video, all the video footage of everybody seeing this guy get on the roof. Nothing is ever getting done. I mean, it's to me, do you believe the lone wolf narrative? Before we cut out, do you believe the kid acted alone?
You know,
yeah.
To say they said that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone.
Yeah.
But then, another example. I know this girl long ago. I haven't seen her since like 2010. She's Russian, and obviously she just had a kid, but totally different style in terms of photography or everything, and just I don't know. Everything's different over here. I kind of enjoy it more, really, and she has pictures of the kid. And yeah. Everything else. Yeah, just like that. Just like, but yeah. But yeah, it's just like that. And then someone's drilling. A neighbor's drilling in the wall. Funny. But yeah, what can I say? What can I say? That just like that, in a very basic, simple way. And I'll ask Yuri. And I'm sure he'll love to come on, and you can ask him any question.
Yeah, I probably will. Oh, most definitely.
Even the hardball ones, he will not get offended. I know this because me and him used to debate politics, or like what the use of government is, or things like this. You can ask him straight, he won't take it the wrong way. He'll understand it from an American perspective a bit. And he'll answer it from his perspective, obviously, and everything else. You hear that, right, or no?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
By the way, that's the only other sometimes annoying thing. Sometimes someone wants to drill into the wall for some reason. And you hear it on occasion, but it's not so horrible. In that you just go, oh, someone's doing something. But just what it is and how it is and where it is, like that. What else can I say?
Well, it's been a good chat.
Yeah.
And everybody's starting to wake up here at my place. I'm starting to hear people wake up. So
there's where your MJ city, 10,000 people. Right there, that's the population that lives in that area. And but it's just one of them things, and it's very close to Poland. And let me see if I can pull it on a map for a second to give idea, since I've not shown anywhere where these spots are. So this is your MJ. Let's see. Come on, not that far out. So your MJ would be further out by now. So here's Ivano-Frankivsk. So the blue dot is where I am, right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then here's where Lviv is. There's Ivano-Frankivsk. And right there, here is your MJ. And then here, again, border with Poland. This is the border. And it just goes to show you again how close I am to the border. That's Polish border. But then you have Moldova. Actually Moldova's here. but Romania is to my south, Hungary is to my west, Slovakia is to my west, and Poland is like to my northwest. And that. So if something was to go horribly, horribly wrong in the country, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 different ways.
Right.
And that. And again, no one explains that one. That no one goes through and explaining it. Not to mention too that Serbia and Bosnia are right there. I'm right here. Serbia and Bosnia are right there.
Yep. Yeah, I've been reading a lot about the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, and I know he's been talking both with Zelensky and Putin about trying to get peace. I thought that was interesting.
Well, he's just trying to be the middleman, the facility.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because what's his face in Turkey was trying to do that too. And also another example too for history people. So Austria, which we know Hitler was Austrian.
Right.
So this gives you an idea. Ukraine is here, Austria is here, here is Germany. Poland is here. It's all right next to each other. Even though it looks so spread out on a map when you're normally looking at it and that. And it takes 8 hours, Berlin, all the way to, well, actually take that back. Berlin to Krakow right here. This little trip type thing right here is like 8 hours.
Wow.
And that by train. So Berlin.
Oh, so 8 hours by train to get to Berlin. That's not too bad by train. 8 hours. That's
well,
not
from Berlin to Krakow.
Yeah.
Okay, from here to here. Then from Berlin to Przemyśl, which is right here, is another like 2 or 3 hours. So it'll be like 10 or 11 hours.
Right.
And that. But that, again, that shows you just how close things are. And people think that Berlin is in the center of Germany. It's right on the border with Poland.
Yep.
And that it's right on the border. And that Warsaw is also right on the border. It's not in the center of the country. But it's just one of these things. Those things never get explained. And that they're never explained. You think the capital's in the center of the country, because that would make sense.
Right.
Not always true. Just one of them things like that. Yeah, but we'll have to do it again. And
yeah, we're definitely do this next week. We'll definitely get it set up. But I'm gonna go ahead and get off here. It's almost 7:50 here, and my kids will be getting up soon. So
yeah,
but
we'll see how many views everything gets.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I'll get it posted. I always go through the video anyway because I probably have to, look at the one picture though. Maybe I can cut that one out. But no, other than that, no, I think that this was good, man. I actually appreciate this. Like I said, I think once a week, at least once a week if we can, that would be awesome. And maybe I can get a friend on here myself. I got a buddy. I think he wants to ask you questions as well. But I've been so busy this week, I didn't get a chance to get him the Zoom link because I was busy. But next time, I think he had questions to ask you as well. But
sure. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. But I appreciate everything, Ricky. So
yeah, take it easy.
Yeah, we'll definitely be chatting soon. So,
okay, yeah. Have fun.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.
Yeah. You too. Bye.
Yeah.